Action.
Welcome to Biz Of Show Live. I'm Candace Donahue.
And I'm Levi Walker.
And we're here to interview people who we've either worked with in our past or that we've crossed paths, and we're going to pick their brains about how they survived this show business and how they found their own lane and survived this
Biz of Show.
Today we're going to be interviewing a lovely, lovely lady, and we have an exclusive backstage pass to the Phantom of the Opera!
My favorite show.
And so we're going to be talking to the Christine Understudy, Elizabeth Welch.
And this chick has been doing this show for 9 years, and she is amazing.
It was a touching interview, so I can't wait for you to see it. It moved me.
Absolutely, it moved me too. Actually, I think we all actually cried in the middle of the interview, and it was, or at least got teary-eyed. It was pretty spectacular. And make sure, you know, if you're checking this out for the first time, make sure you go check out our Facebook group. It's called Biz of Show. It's our secret group. It's our closed group. No, it's a closed group, right? It's a closed group, so you have to join, and we have to approve it. But we would love to have you in there, because in that group, we're going to be teaching you guys anything and everything that Candace and I and all of our friends have learned in this Biz of Show, just to kind of help you guys in your path, and we're super excited to have you guys in it, so make sure you check that out. In the meantime, here comes the interview.
Hi, welcome. So today we're so excited to introduce our interviewee today, which is lovely, lovely Elizabeth Welch.
Hello.
And so backstage at Phantom of the Opera on Broadway right now.
Right, and you're in between shows right now, right?
Yes.
Thank you for giving us your break time and your food time just to talk to us.
It is my pleasure.
So we're going to just jump right in and ask you some questions, because I'm going to just tell you right now, I have so many students that dream of this role. Christine in Phantom is a dream, and I can't even begin to tell you how many of them go, how do I do that? Where do I get the opportunity, and will that ever happen? And so I just wanted to know, like, how long you've been with the show and what your experience is.
I've been with the show for 9 years. 9
Wow.
years. And it was my dream role. I saw it when I was 14, probably. I don't know how old your students are, but when I was 14, I saw the show in Denver at the Buell, and well, there you go. It's classical singing-ish, and it's music theater and romance and everything that is wonderful about music theater. And I thought, well, that's it. She sings a high E. I can sing a high E.
So can I.
I totally can sing a high E.
You know what I mean?
Is that a high E?
I'm pretty, and you look so much better when you did it. Try that again. Yeah, I'm thinking.
Wait.
Yes.
Is that note at the end of Phantom? Is that right?
Yeah.
Title song. It's an E.
Wow.
I don't think that was an E. I don't know. I don't have perfect pitch today.
Yeah.
Today.
Today. I mean, other days.
So you've been playing it for you've been in the show for 9 years, but you haven't always played first cast Christine, correct?
No. I was on the tour for 2 years, and I've always covered Christine. So I was on the tour for 2 years, and then I came to Broadway when that closed, and was here for, do some math, 5 years maybe.
Okay, wait. Were you in the show? Maybe we already connected on this, but were you in the show in the closing in LA, the tour? Yes. I was there that night. I was at the party and everything.
Oh my gosh!
My friend Tara Gage was doing props, and yeah, she and I go way back too. Like, as long as I've known her, since like 1990. Blah blah blah. And
that's amazing. I was there. I had a blue scarf on and a black dress.
You remember what you were wearing? That's amazing. Yeah, well, I feel like that there's a lot that we want to just find out about you and what you do and how you. So I have to ask then. So 9 years of doing a show.
Hold on a minute. Wait, there was an announcement. I wanted to make sure it wasn't.
Sure.
Welch. Okay, good.
Okay.
Elizabeth Welch called the office. You're Christine tonight.
That would be great.
That would be funny if I got a text while I was on here, like, "Hey,
you're on." Christine.
Right, because then you could just take your phone backstage and say, "Look, this is what's happening." That would be amazing.
live streaming Backstage.
Live streaming.
Totally for that.
No.
No, 9 years. Yes.
So
I was
9 years.
in Germany and did Christine so I was the first class Christine in Germany for that year in German. And here I've been, as the actually I have some shows coming up. Whenever there's 3 Christines, there's the one that does it 6 times a week, one that does it 2 times a week, and then a cover. And they're an on-stage cover. So I have a normal track every day, which is why I'm in Showbeat, because I just did my normal track. And then when they go on vacation, they'll switch around and I'll become the alternate Christine, or, so we fill in, or they're sick for 2 weeks and I'm on for 2 weeks, just.
So you have an ensemble track that you do every day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So you also are classically trained in ballet as well, are you? No. Yes.
Well,
yeah.
it's just one of those things in musical theater. It's the magic of theater where, you need a body on stage, and she might not be trained in classical ballet, but you stick her here and you teach her how to kind of do it. And I don't know, maybe train people in front of you.
No.
Are you a dancer? I'm more of a mover and a shaker.
I'm more of a shaker.
Shake what your mama made you, gave you.
Right. Well, I think they go through, Phantom's been around for 30 years. So you go through different phases of it. And sometimes Christines all have to be dancers. And sometimes it's more important to have the voice and the acting, because she dances on point.
Right.
For like 8 bars. I mean, it's nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah. A lot of my students will be happy to hear that. Many.
Yes. And I don't know what phase they're in now in the hiring process, but our Christine, who's Ali Ewald, who's stunning, speaking of King and I, she's not on point. We just we take the shank out of our point shoes and it's just a demi point. And
oh, fantastic. That's
we
great.
just we sort of, no one can tell. It's Hannibal. There's things. There's an elephant. There's look up here. I've got my arms,
Right.
So it's fine. I would definitely stress to your students as much as I can to take dance.
Yes.
Because I don't have that, because I was classically trained as a singer. I always did music theater, opera school. There's not a whole lot of dance class.
We took a little brief peek at your resume, and I was like, oh, she was Despina, and you've done some really good roles, and Tales of Hoffman, and I was like, a lot of really good things. So clearly classically trained. Yes, clearly classically
and all of
trained.
my roles on my resume as well are like Maria and Marian and Anna and all of the beautiful old classical singing roles.
Golden age, beautiful voice. Yes.
Alpha's not on there.
Right.
I think Alphabet should be on there.
Yes. What? You look like an alphabet. I would totally guess.
Okay, would you rather do Alphabet or Glinda, or would you rather do both?
At the same time, yeah.
At the same time. That would be the best song ever.
I would certainly be more of a Glinda, because that would be me. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it can be. I guess hire me to be Glinda for sure, whatever. But
sure, absolutely. Okay, so we're gonna go back to Phantom and say you've been with it for 9 years, and I have to ask, how do you keep it fresh?
This is the number one first question. And really the answer, and I'm going to say I don't know, because it's not hard for me. And I think that it's sometimes surprising that it is fresh every night, let's say. There's a different audience every night. There are different people on stage because people are out, somebody's sick, someone's train didn't come in from Jersey, and there are several understudies on. So it's never the same show on stage. I'm not sick of the music yet.
Wonderful. Wow, that's fantastic.
I think it's the passion that we have. It's like when we do these long running shows, I mean, the only show I did for long was 2 years, but But, you know, but when you just love what you do, and then it's easy to go on stage and be like, like every night, like even though it's like silly, you love, if you love your craft and what you're doing, then that's what makes it easy and magical.
Well, and that's the kind of, I mean, how do you keep it fresh? That's your job. That's what you're getting paid to do, is go out there and do that show. So, yeah, there are days when it's cozy and my daughter's at home and I don't want to leave Jersey to come to do, because it's 8 shows a week, 52 weeks a year, or 50 weeks a year if you happen to take, you know, your vacation weeks. But that's a lot. And there are days when you are punching in, but you have that sort of like when you're sick, that Dr. Footlights thing, you know, out in front of the audience, you're like, okay, here we are. As Christine, it's a lot easier, I will say, to go and I'm not saying the ensemble track, you have to work harder at keeping it fresh, I think, in the ensemble track, because Christine gets on stage and never leaves unless she's changing the costume. Ensemble stands there and then we go sit for the rest of the act.
Sure.
You know, and then come back in the second act. So you have to really make sure that you're keeping yourself engaged. But that's your job. The audience is, I mean, it's silly to say, maybe it's cheesy to say, this is someone's first time seeing Phantom, maybe.
Right. No, it's absolutely.
It's absolutely true.
Yes. You mentioned a little bit, you said there are days where you're wanting to be cozy with your daughter. So that means that you've been, how old is your daughter? And
is 13.
She's 13.
And she is so talented.
She's so talented.
So, but she's 13 and you've been with the show 9 years. So that means you had her before that you started on this journey. And what was that like as a young mom being and with young children?
Someone else is out this evening, so we have to figure out who's.
The secrets of Broadway.
Right. The pieces, you gotta
move. Wardrobe. So and so is out this evening. Information coming soon.
That's fantastic.
Wardrobe. Yes, my daughter. This was strangely, Broadway was never my goal. Necessarily, I wasn't like, I'm going to move to New York and make that my dream. And it just was never my goal. I wanted to have a family and I wanted to sing. And if they paid me to sing, all the better. And that just kind of was the way it worked out. And I always wanted to do Phantom, of course, but I was like, well, the only chance to do that is on Broadway, the tour. So, oh, well, you know, we'll see. That wasn't my priority.
So did she go to Germany with you and do all of that?
Yeah, she was there for 2 months. And then the other time, because Germany is glorious and they give you 6 weeks of vacation, I was able to work it out so that pretty much every month I saw her, either me going home or her coming to visit me. So we had plenty of, it was like being on tour. When I first went on tour, she was 4. And it was, don't get me wrong, torture. Absolute torture. You get the job of your dreams and you have a 4-year-old and it's kind of like this, well, I can't say no to this. This is wonderful. And also the job of your dreams that pays you enough to have that be your one job.
Yes, and you don't gotta hustle.
And I can support her, and she has health insurance, and like, okay, but how do you work it out? And at the time, I was married, and my husband at the time was great about it. He stayed home, and then they would come out to visit once a month because it was Phantom. We sat down for a month in each city, and he would, hello.
Do we have an interview?
No, come on, Laird. How is it? Oh, God, I'm just doing a little interview. This is Laird McIntosh, who was our Phantom today. Come on in, because that's.
Come on in, Laird.
Yes, come on in.
Supposed to be given back to an.
I'm going to take this.
What is that?
Phantom trophy. This is Majestic Madness 2018. It was a little competition, and Christine won.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
No, it's great to have you. Hi.
Bye.
Hi.
You're on tonight, yeah?
No, I'm leaving. I'm going home now.
Okay.
Are you?
No.
Oh, okay. I would have loved to have done that. Okay.
Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
Laird McIntosh, everyone.
Yeah.
So you're able to juggle. You've been able to luckily have the job that allowed you to juggle having kids and be able to live your dream and do what you want to do.
I have, yes. And there is a torture, and I'm sure you know this. There's absolute torture in the fact that I got a job, but got my equity card and got the full-time performing job when she was 2.5 or 3. And that means that I've missed bedtime except for one night a week.
Sure.
All that time.
I still have tremendous mommy guilt even now that I have teenagers. I have a 15-year-old and an 18-year-old, so mommy guilt is a real thing.
It's
super like, it's like, oh dear, I'm going away and I don't know what they're eating right now. I still have had those moments, but
well, I want to ask you more about you getting your dream job, because I think a lot of the people that we want to talk to are young performers and people that are like not struggling, but you know they're moved to New York or they've moved to LA and they're going from little job to little job or regional show to regional show, or they get a contract or something, and they're like they want to get that one dream job. I want to know what was your audition like for you? Like what was that process like for you? How could we help these people prepare for that type of experience?
Right. Well, it's an interesting story. My story is an interesting and maybe not typical journey, because I was living in Colorado and I saw that there was a call for Phantom on the equity casting call, and I flew to New York, and that was going to be it was my first audition in New York. And I got the job. However, it took a year because of, I don't know, various things. And so I kept flying back, but I just auditioned. I was like, why not? For me, auditioning for Phantom was already like, that's amazing. And then I was called back. That's even better. And then I just kept topping myself with, that would be enough.
Yeah.
But that's not the only audition I've ever done. And so my advice is always take every job. Number one, doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter if it's community theater, whatever. You're paying as much in childcare as you're making.
Mm-hmm.
Take the job if you can afford it, and get that experience. And every audition is, I think I went into every audition thinking, it's possible I'm not going to get this. So this is my performance. This is one chance to perform. And I was doing other jobs too. And, you know, it wasn't like a, gotta make it. There's always the idea in my mind that I'm going to have to work.
Okay, I want to jump in here because you just said something really powerful. Is that when you said, "This is my chance to perform,"
right?
And a lot of
to do.
You know, a lot of people. I was just talking to an agent that we're going to interview later today, and he was just saying last night that people came in to audition for him and they didn't have a book, they didn't have their headshot or resume, they didn't know what they were going to sing. They sang Beyonce for a musical theater audition, and he was like flabbergasted. And people don't get that, like, what you have to do when you walk into a casting room is to give them opening night performance.
What did you sing for your audition?
Yeah, what did you sing?
Green finch and leonard bird, I can get a blackbird. How is it you
Perfect.
sing?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Give me some Sweeney any day.
Exactly. Just gorgeous. And then Kristen was like, what else do you have? And I sang My White Knight from the music.
Wonderful.
Man. And
Wonderful.
I just
how did you at that age track with the idea how did you know to track the right songs that were right for Christine? That's
always hard. That is always the struggle, is finding the right song to sing for an audition, I think. But that's her style of singing is right in my wheelhouse. So pretty much anything that I have in my book is good.
You're good. You just are her. You sound like her.
But I think when they say something in the style of the show,
oh my God, I always hated that.
Really true. I think it's what story can you tell and what style of singing kind of works out that shows your voice, and what you enjoy singing, because truly that whatever, 16 bars or that 2, hopefully 5 minutes that you get in the room if they keep you in and want to hear more. That's your performance. That may be your only performance.
Yeah, absolutely.
Of the month, whatever. If you love to perform, every time you perform, do it. Because you've won that. I mean, that's what you love to do. So you got a chance to perform that day. And I enjoyed that. That was great. Doesn't matter if they hire me or not, because, you know.
So the next question I have that's sort of connected to that, though, is, so you've auditioned for things, you've been with the show 9 years. How many times have you thought, I want to walk away from this and I should just quit and try to find greener pastures? Have you ever thought that? What are your thoughts on that? I know that, you know, that's a big thing that we have in this business is, well, do I keep with this job or am I limiting myself? All of those things.
So now the question you're asking, are you asking about going from, you know, audition to audition, or I have a long running show, should I be auditioning for other things and getting out there?
Well, I mean, I know that when, like, you were in Germany and if you've done the tour, that a lot of times people will say, oh, I need to quit this in order to have the opportunity. I've been away from New York too long. People have forgotten me.
Yes,
you know.
right.
Or I want to originate a role, or I want to win a Tony Award, or anything
Absolutely.
like that.
And to that I say I've always had different priorities, because since this first job I've had a child, and I have the golden ticket.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Are you kidding?
And
an open-ended run? Amazing.
Here's my trophy.
So your objectives were different.
My objectives were different, but also, I mean, yeah, my objectives are different, but I still debate them, because now revivals on Broadway are all the shows that are like Elizabeth Welch, you know, Carousel, everything that is My Fair Lady, Carousel.
Sure.
What else is here right now? Pretty much everything that I could walk in on
I mean,
stage.
you could do Mary Poppins. You could. I mean, there's just so, and there's just so much for you.
You keep waiting in the cycles of Broadway for those things to come back.
Right, She Loves Me. I was just thinking about.
Exactly. Like I'm not going to be hired for Rent or Wicked or, you know, those sorts of things. And so when it came back around to classical music theater, I was here. I could have jumped ship into the abyss and done an audition for those roles. Like, that could have been an option for me. But I still love my job. It's steady. I enjoy doing it, and I have a daughter. And I'm recently divorced as well, so I just she's more of a priority for me. If I hated this job, if I couldn't stand the music and I was miserable coming in every day, first of all, I hope they fire me, because having miserable people in the building is annoying. But if I hated it and I was really like, I have to get out, I would go. They talk about this as the golden handcuffs, but life is for living. And if you're miserable in a job and you feel like I've been on tour for a long time, if that is your goal to originate a role or whatever, and that's more exciting for you, do that.
But you're looking at this as, this is your career. This is a great gig to have. I am making money. I'm doing something that I love, right? We're talking about not just the dream, but the career. We're talking about.
I have the best job that I could possibly have as a singer who, you know, if I were to go out and do something I'm not passionate, my hobby is the same as my job.
Okay, so I think so many people, like young people, I know I was like, I want to be on Broadway, I want to do this show, I want to do that show, I want to do this show. We don't, as young performers, we never had, before you had your kids, our goal was truck and do it and kill it and go to show and go, right? But we don't ever stop to think about, at 20 years old, retirement, health insurance, like really, we just don't. We don't think about what's going to happen when we turn 60, and we also don't even stop to think about something like, what if we become really ultra famous and then we can't work anymore and we have to go get a job somewhere? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, and you got to, like, if you walk into like McDonald's and you're like, hi, and they're like, aren't you that girl from, you know what I mean? Like, it's tough to even work after that. And so, so
there
it's
is
like
a career side to it as well. There is a career side, and there is a longevity of. I've always been very practical, I guess.
yeah.
I think it's good to be practical.
I think a lot more people need to be more practical.
Well, and so I have to tell you, I love performing and I love singing so much that I was reticent. You
sound like my voice teacher. How lovely.
Reticent to take my equity card because I was in Denver. And I did a show with Ray Roderick, The Taffetas, A Musical Journey through the 50s. I mean, it's a dream show. It's just 40s fun, 50s music. But it was an equity gig. And in Denver, there were 3 equity houses. Now there's not. Maybe there's 2. But that you can only do equity jobs. And I thought, well, but I want to perform. And if I take my equity card, I can only work at those 2 theaters, and then
what if they don't hire you?
What if they don't have a thing? What if they don't hire me? And then and that has to be. And this is interesting though. I didn't want my performing to be the thing that I needed to make money with, because it took away. You go into the audition with a different energy. If you go into the audition out
of desperation, and I need this job.
I need this job.
It's so, okay, why are we tracking so much? Like, so many of the things that we're teaching young people right now is that the mentality of, God, I hope I get it, no longer applies anymore at all, because there is so much work and there's so much competition, and so many people that are getting the work and getting the jobs right now, like, and becoming big and having really great careers are the ones that are creating their own content, becoming YouTube sensations, or being huge on Instagram. And it sounds so silly, but it's a real reality, and it seems even harder to accomplish that. But I just think if you're just like constantly creating stuff, you're giving people a reason to want to work with you. And you're giving people a reason to find, like, if they're like, oh, who's this guy Levi? And then they're like, oh, he does this silly talk show. Like, oh, he's kind of funny, you know? Like, I love his hair, I love his glasses. Like, oh, he's great. We can have him talk on our show. Like, that right there, I'm giving people a reason to want to work with me in other capacities. She's giving people to work, you know what I mean? Like, or to shoot with me, or to take voice from her. Like, and you have to do that right now. That God, I hope I get it mentality does not work anymore.
No. And it gives you the power to, it gives you, I mean, control is really an illusion anyway, but it gives you something that you can do.
Creative control.
Creative control. Yeah. Like, you're literally like talking about everything we teach in our course that we're about to release. Yeah. Like, seriously, it's so So what is, I want to shift this a little bit, because we're running out of time and I don't want to take up too much of your time. I want to know, do you have any, like, what are your most memorable moments doing Phantom? Do you ever have one of those moments where you have that, all the feels, like, you know, Brett was talking about this night he did, he was doing West Side with who was it? Oh, Marianne Mastrantonio was Maria. Or is it Marianne? Marianne Mastrantonio, you know, that I love her. She's from the Abyss. She knows how to cry.
She knows how to cry. That's what we do.
She knows how to die and turn her lips blue.
Oh my God, why did they not just go? Why did she have to die? Keep going and dying along the way. Do you know what I'm saying?
We need to write somebody. Somebody needs to know.
Somebody needs to go back and fix that shit.
We need to fix that.
Well,
pardon me. I'm sorry.
So Brett had this moment with her. He said, I just walked off stage and I just felt like I had an out of body experience. And I was like, that was that was what we live for. And Eric Jordan Young told me last week, he goes, it's that moment that we live for. And it's so hard to catch it. It has to happen so organically that like, that's what makes us love going on stage every night, love going to work every day. Talk to me about any moments that you've had like that.
I have, as far as doing, there are moments of, oh my God, I am, what? Holy crap. This is my life. This is my, they're paying me to, what? The moments of connection to the artistry of what we do. I have those moments of, and I remember them. I remember in Phantom being at the throne, talking to the Phantom, and he was, you know, like, and I remember that entire show, there wasn't an audience there. There just wasn't. And it's rare because, you know, at the Majestic, they're like,
they're right there. Right.
You know, on their phones. So,
on their phones.
You know, sleeping. No, but it really felt that was real as singing your, you know, feelings can be with someone. And it was such a wonderful experience of what the work is. You're talking to someone, you're telling a story. But there are several moments in Phantom. One in particular, I remember my put-in at the Pantages in LA. John Cudillo was my Phantom. And I remember in the boat, you're driving downstage in the boat and there are candles coming out of the water and, you know, it's the Pantages Theater in front of you. And I remember seeing the inside of the proscenium. And I just remember thinking, oh, Phantom. Oh. It's so beautiful.
Oh my God, I felt that. I cried a little bit when you said that.
I am in I know.
And you know, you have moments. My put in for my first put in for Christine, I remember that moment. Only that moment. My put in for Christine on Broadway, I describe it as being wide awake in my best dream, my biggest dream. I was wide awake for it because I'd done it. I knew the role, but here I was on Broadway, which even though that wasn't my goal, it's a dream, you know.
Right.
You know,
it's an accomplishment.
not finishing it.
Right.
And I just remember every moment of that show, and I was so grounded in the role and in the character, and that goes with the preparation, I guess, you know, so that you can be grounded on opening night. But I would wake up in the boat in Germany sometimes, and I remember waking up, I remember there was mist, whatever, and I looked out and you see the audience, and I'm like, God, this is my job. I'm it's overwhelming to me. It's overwhelming what a gift it is to be.
So Phantom is, again, I'm saying it for the 70th time, one of my favorite shows. Okay. But there are these moments, I think there are these moments between Christine and Phantom that are, like, to me, the most, like, magical moment. Like, I would love to play the Phantom. I can sing the Phantom. I'm not tall enough to play the Phantom. I need to lose, you know, some weight, you know, but it would never happen. But if I could play the Phantom, there are a couple of moments that I love in that show, in particular when, in Point of No Return, when she, like, pulls his hood back and rips his mask off, and, like, just that shock and pain that he feels. And then there's that moment with when she turns to tears of hate in the lair, and then there's the other moment where she comes back and gives him the ring, and when she kisses him. There's these moments that are so special. What are your favorite moments that you have with the Phantom when you play Christine?
As with the Phantom, I absolutely love giving him back the ring at the end. I love that moment. I also love and I don't know, maybe the directors of the show will not like what I'm about to say. Maybe I'll get notes the next time I go on. But when she takes his hood off And then finally has to go and just take all of his hair and the mask, and you see him standing there. That she has to do that, but then I have that immediate regret of like, oh, but he's so
broken.
You know, I'm going backwards in the show now, just because you started there. I'm sort of going backwards. I believe the best moment for me is when he's crawling across the floor in the first layer. She's ripped off his mask. He's gone bananas and the floor, fearing for her life. And he's coming across explaining that, but I'm just a man that yearns for beauty, and I want you, and I love you. And he's covering up his face, and then he lets it go. And like, can you be okay with this?
Yeah.
And Christine turns away in that moment of fear, but then gives him his mask back. But you know, it's the compassion. My favorite thing about Christine is her compassion.
Oh,
You
yes.
have that human moment of like, oh God, oh, your face is missing.
Yeah.
And then the compassion of, oh, that hurt you that I did that here. Here's the mask.
Oh my God.
Wow. I love that.
Trying to want to love him, you know.
Right. Well, my son, when he watched Phantom, and he would watch it over and over and over again on DVD. And he looked up at me one time. He was 8 years old, and he looked up and he goes, just tears coming down his face. And he said, "Mommy, can you imagine what it's like not to be loved, even by your own mommy?" And
isn't that heartbreaking? She is the best son. I'm in love with him. I love him.
And I just went, that kid got it, and he understood it, right? It's like, that's what, and that's why I think like Phantom is, I do love Christine's compassion, and that, you know, this is probably one of the reasons why it has been running for so long, right?
Yeah.
You know, it's a tremendously beautiful show.
People relate to people to not feeling being loved.
Yeah.
Well, everybody feels like the Phantom at times. Everyone is a pathetic child who is picked on, and you know, we get beautiful letters from children talking about how they were picked on, and they saw the Phantom, and it gave them hope because they related to him, and there was love shown to him, and it is that ultimate gift of, and her kissing him at the end, you know, just
absolutely.
There's in that moment of him like, and he's like, what do I do with this? I've always wanted it. This is all I've ever wanted was this moment right here, and I don't know what to do with it.
I don't know what to do.
And that to me is like powerful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And just that gift.
It's a gift.
You're not alone. I have love for you. I can show this to you. I'm not afraid of your face. I'm not afraid of, you know,
that first question that I asked, how you could be able to do this for 9 years, has shown itself through all of these answers, that you're still in love with it.
Yeah.
You're in love with it, and it's touching, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Thank you so much for doing this interview with us.
It is a pleasure.
We are going to actually bounce over to Backstage at Hamilton right now and do another interview over at Hamilton. So we're going to let you go, and thank you for your time. And we appreciate it so much.
Thank you. This was such a joy. I love talking about Phantom.
Well, when we come to see your show and we're in the audience, we will scream for you.
I'll be crying. I'll be crying.
We'll be doing this. Yes, please do. Please do.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks again for watching Biz of Show Live with Levi Walker and Candace Donahue. If you like what you see, please share the video. And of course, join our Facebook group, Biz of Show. Can't wait to see you inside.